They said weeks or I don't know, maybe months ago that they will come to Ukraine quickly, sit, negotiate, stop this war. I hope that they will come. Yes, and I understand that there are challenges in the Middle East, and as I said, we are thankful for their position that they want to help and etc. But we need more than words.
That's Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky talking to reporters after Russia's latest attack. Overnight, Russia launched a massive 11-hour barrage of drones and missiles on Kiev. So far, at least 21 civilians have died, with countless more injured in the blasts. Explosions rocked the Ukrainian capital as residents sheltered in place in subways, with rescue crews sifting through rubble of collapsed apartment buildings. Moscow calls it retaliation for Ukraine's aggressive drone strikes on Russian oil refineries, which have triggered fuel shortages inside Russia. Over 4 years into this grinding conflict, there are no signs of Putin or Zelensky backing down. To discuss, let's welcome in our foreign policy panel. Retired U.S. Marine Corps Colonel and visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation, Colonel Mike Jernigan, and former CIA analyst and senior fellow at the America First Policy Institute, Fred Fleitz. Gentlemen, welcome. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Good to be here.
Colonel, I wanted to start with you. From a military perspective, how effective are these large-scale Russian strikes on civilian areas like Kiev? And what is Ukraine's success with long-range drones attacks on Russian energy targets? Tell us about the real balance of power here.
Hey, good afternoon, Christina. That's such a good question. And let me address the Ukrainian part first. Wars quit when countries cannot fight anymore or decide they do not want to fight anymore. And Ukraine, with the strike on the strategic fuel reserves, is helping Russia quickly get to one or both of those answers. We have to remember that Ukraine is fighting for its national survival. It will cease to exist as a country if it loses this war. Similarly, Russia is going on with Putin saying, hey, everything's great and there's no problems. So what you're seeing now is an escalation of strategic targeting and targeting of infrastructure, and in some cases, perhaps targeting of civilians and schools just to say, hey, I want you to stop fighting. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out, but I'm voting on the Ukrainians.
All right. I'll be very curious to see myself as well. Fred, with the Trump administration pushing diplomatic efforts ahead of the upcoming NATO summit, is this latest Russian retaliation a sign that Putin's playing for time, or does it show Ukraine's strikes are finally forcing Moscow towards negotiations? What's your take?
Those are good questions. I might add that when Trump saw Zelensky, I think last month, he said he's expecting a peace proposal from Putin. I think that was significant. But look, the greater sophistication of Ukrainian drones, their range, their ability to strike areas that were supposedly well defended by missile defenses, their tactics they're using, striking targets across the country. Russia may have great air defenses, but it can't defend everything. And the Ukrainians are hitting oil refineries in various parts of the country, and as targets as far away as St. Petersburg. They're also using AI so they can outwit Russian defenses. It's really changing the dynamics of this war, coupled with losses on the ground. Putin is in a bind right now, and this is the time for Trump to go in very hard and try to give him a diplomatic way out.
All right, let's switch gears here. Talks between the U.S. and Iran are now on pause for the funeral of the slain Supreme Leader, the Ayatollah, who was notably killed earlier in U.S.-Israeli strikes in the region. Meanwhile, President Trump says denuclearization efforts are, quote, moving along well. Colonel, with Iran still building nuclear sites, retaining enriched uranium, and making threats over the Strait of Hormuz, is this pause a dangerous delay that gives the regime time to regroup, or do you see real leverage here for a strong deal that actually prevents a nuclear Iran?
This pause is convenient for the United States. You know, I spent 30 years as a Marine. Any conversation that stops fighting, however temporarily or permanent, is a good thing. And The Iranians cannot get to their nuclear material, that stuff that would make a nuclear weapon. And it's important to remember that right now, while this kind of conversation is messy and really not good for news because we all want to be concluded and go to the next thing, the fact of it is that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon right now, and America is protected. And I do also remind the viewers that the Iranians have said, come out into the streets by the tens and the millions and celebrate our supreme leader on the 4th of July, the United States birthday. And I think that poses a target, not for the United States, but we need to be cautious that other people do not attack Iran, even its own government, as they have done before, and then try to blame the United States.
Yeah, very good point, and certainly lots of things to look out for that. Colonel Mike Jernigan and Fred Fleitz, thank you both so much for joining us. A pleasure as always.
Hey, great afternoon.